that you are having a good day so far. So, today we'll be doing our grade 5 English lesson on prefixes and suffixes. And remember, we say that we are doing a continuation of prefixes and suffixes because there is quite a few um, lessons under prefixes and suffixes that we would like to cover. So, we are going to continue basically on the chapter of prefixes and suffixes. And before we start with today's lesson on prefixes and suffixes, we're going to log into aplusstudents.ca. Once we've logged into aplusstudents.ca with our username as well as our password, and then we're going to select the subject of language arts. And then grade 5. After we've done that, we're going to scroll down up until we get to the chapter of prefixes and suffixes. Prefixes and suffixes. Right? And remember, we said that we are continuing from our previous lesson, which is in our previous lesson, we did words with pre and re. And then today, we are going to be focusing on other prefixes as well as a suffix. All right, so our chapter for today is prefixes and suffixes. Our subject is English language arts, grade 5. And the lessons that we are going to be focusing on under the chapter of prefixes and suffixes, it's words with sub, words with miss, words with un, dis, in, im, and non, and the suffix, which is words with full. So that is going to be our focus today under the chapter of prefixes and suffixes. All right, so we're going to start. So once again, a prefix can be added to the beginning of a base word to create a new word. So a prefix can either be, let's say, a word or a few letters that we add at the beginning of a base word. And a base word is a word that can stand on its own. And then we create a new word once you've added these words to the base word. And then knowing the meaning of a specific prefix can really help you to determine the meaning of the word. So, for example, knowing the meaning of either sub, miss, un, dis, in, im, and non, or even full, will be helpful when you want to know the meaning of a specific word. And then the suffix, right, is a word. It's a word part, or it's a, like, let's say, words or things that we add to the end of a specific word. For example, like full, right? And if you add the suffix full to a base word, and the base word is a word that can stand on its own. So if the base word is, for example, help, that is a word that can stand on its own. We know help can stand on its own, and we know what help means, right? But when we add the word full, let's say, to the word help, then the word becomes helpful. So the word becomes helpful. So our base word is help, and if we add full to the end with the back of that specific word, and then we have helpful. So we said our base word is help. For example, our suffix is full. So if we put it together, it is helpful. And the prefix of the word part added to the beginning of the word, we call that the suffix. And an example of that is un. Sorry, it's called a prefix. And an example is un, right? Un. And if we add un to, for example, helpful, then we can say it is unhelpful, meaning you're not being helpful, right? So now we're going to look at our prefixes and suffixes. So the prefix sub, right? So the prefix sub, it means under, right? It means below, or it means less than. And less than can either mean words like subtract. If we look at a few words, let me do this. All right, so for example, if we look at our word sub, and we said sub can either mean under, can mean below, or less than. So sub, right? If we look at sub, it says the prefix sub, it means under, below, or it means less than. And if we think of something that is under, we can say it's a submarine. We can even say subsea, meaning it's under the sea. Or subtract, just to show the less than part. Then we have the prefix miss. Miss. And miss means incorrectly or badly. And we can either be misinformed, so we can be misinformed. That is now by miss, and we said miss means incorrectly or badly. And then we have our prefix an, dis, im, and non. And this usually means not or the opposite of. So dis, in, im, and non, it usually means not or the opposite of not. All right, before we go on to our prefixes an, if we look at more words with miss, then let's, for example, mistrust. So if you don't trust someone, and misjudge, which is wrongfully. So we can say informed, impatient, right? So these are words that starts with, let's say, dis, and it can even be uninformed. And then we have a suffix, right? And a suffix can be added to the end of that base word to create a new word. All right, so knowing that the meaning of a suffix can help you to determine the meaning of a word. So the suffix full, it means having, showing, or causing. And we can make an example of being helpful. So being helpful. So once again, a prefix can be added to the beginning of a base word to create a new word. And a suffix is a word that is added to the end of a word, right? And that is also basically to determine the meaning, to create a new word. And knowing the meaning of these words will help you to determine the meanings of the words. So these are a few of our examples right at the bottom of our prefixes as well as our suffix. All right. So here we have a few more examples of prefixes and suffixes, right? And the ones that we are specifically focusing on today is dis and miss. And like we say, here's a few prefixes. And the ones that we are focusing on today, I'm underlining, even unpopular. And then we have our suffixes, right? Which we add at the end of our word. And the word that we are focusing on is full. So there we have helpful, and we have truthful, and we have thankful, for example, right? And we see that we are doing our lessons on aplusstudents.ca. So let us go to aplusstudents.ca. And remember, we said we did pre and re already. Let's go to sub. And we said a prefix can be added to the beginning of a base word to create a new word, right? And knowing the meaning of the word, it can help you determine the meaning, or knowing the meaning of the prefix can help you determine the meaning of the word. And we said sub, right? Sub. It means under, or it means below, or it even means less than. So now here it says, which set is a subset of the other? So which set is a subset of the others? So basically, which set of subset of the others? Which set is a subset of the others? And we can say it is all even numbers are subsets of the others. What can a submarine do that a regular boat cannot do? What can a submarine do that like a normal, general, regular boat cannot do? All right. So when it comes to a submarine, to answer the question of what a submarine can do different than a regular boat, is that it can go underwater. Right? So a submarine can go underwater. It's like they would say it dives underneath the surface of the ocean, whereas a normal boat cannot do that because once water gets in your boat, and then there's a possibility that it might sink. All right, so now we're going to our test. So we need to basically, how does a sub chapter compare to the chapters it's in? Is it the chapter is shorter or the chapter is longer? There's another subchapter chapter. So we want to know, how does a subchapter compare to the chapters it's in? So does it mean that the subchapter is shorter or the subchapter is longer? And we said sub means under. So basically, subchapters, right, is way shorter. Which is a subsurface activity? And remember, we said sub is either under, below, and which subsurface activity? Which is a subsurface activity? Is it harvesting wheat or drilling for oil? So subsurface. So which is a subsurface activity? Is it harvesting wheat or drilling for oil? This is not a subsurface activity, something that is underneath. Subsurface. Surface. Is it harvesting wheat or drilling for oil? All right, so subsurface, right? Then we can maybe say it's either drilling for oil, right? Let's go with this one. Because it's something that you need to do from under, because it's sub, under, right? And then what can a submarine do that a regular boat cannot do? Is it dive beneath the surface of the ocean or hover around the surface of the ocean? Something a submarine can do that a boat cannot do. And we can say submarine can dive beneath the ocean of or the surface of the ocean. And remember, a boat cannot do that because once a boat goes underneath, it means that the boat is sinking. And who is better equipped for subsea exploration? So, exploration is when you are doing certain activities underwater, as doing certain activities underwater, exploring activities, exploring things underwater, and that is why we say a subsea exploration. And somebody or people who are more equipped for subsea explorations are a scuba diver. So a scuba diver will be better equipped for subsea exploration. All right, so now we're going to words with miss, right? Words with miss. And remember, we said that in order for you to easily understand the prefix, right, you need to know the meaning of that specific prefix. So that word miss, right, the prefix of miss, it means either incorrectly or it means bad. So it's like you either it's incorrectly or it is bad. That is why we'll use words like misuse, misinformation, misinform, misrepresent, right? Which means that you are doing something incorrectly or badly. And we said mis, it either means incorrectly or mis means badly. So, how could a news report misrepresent an event? Misrepresent. Is it by leaving out information or being unethical? Right? So basically, a newspaper or news report can misrepresent an event if they leave out important details, right? So if they're leaving out important details, that is when they are misrepresenting an event. And then we have misspent, which results in misspent time. Misspent time. And misspent time is when you are, for example, spending time with someone or something, right? Unnecessarily. It's like you're wasting time. That is what they're meaning. It's like you're wasting time. It's like spending time badly with somebody or unwisely. That is misspent time. All right. So now it says which type of behavior shouldn't cause mistrust? Mistrust. And remember, mistrust is when there is a lack of trust. You cannot trust this person, right? There is maybe no confidence in something or someone. So if you don't trust that person, then it means that you don't have any confidence also with like with that person, right? It's like you just don't trust. That person is suspicious. That behavior is not right. and we spoke about misspent, we spoke about mistrust. Let us go to our test. Which type of behavior shouldn't cause mistrust? So, which type of behavior shouldn't cause mistrust? Is it suspicious behavior or honest behavior should not cause mistrust? So, here it says, which type of behavior shouldn't cause mistrust? It should not cause mistrust. Is it suspicious behavior shouldn't cause mistrust, or honest behavior should not cause mistrust? So, the type of behavior that should not cause mistrust. So, honest behavior shouldn't cause mistrust, because if you are being honest, then there will be no form of mistrust at all, which results in misspent time. Is it doing something important or doing something unnecessary? This results in misspent time. So basically, we can say the results of misspent time is doing something unnecessary. So, which results in misspent time, and we can say doing something unnecessary. If you do things unnecessary, well done, yes, then it means that you have misspent. It's a necessary time that is being spent that you could have done either something else, right? And how could a news reporter misrepresent an event? Is it by leaving out important details or by giving too many details? And how could a news report misrepresent an event? Is it by leaving out important details or by giving too many details? So misrepresent. If somebody or news reporter misrepresent an event, then it's by leaving out important details. All right. So we are by the prefix an, right? Before we end our lesson. So we said words like an, this, in, im, and non. They usually mean not, or they mean the opposite of something, right? So it's like impatient, meaning you are not patient, right? Disbelief, meaning that I don't believe, right? Um, Disagreement, it means that I'm not agreeing with you. Impossible, meaning that it's not possible. So it is basically like the opposite of something, right? So when are you likely to have a disagreement with someone? It is when we have difference in opinions. So now we have disagreements, right? And which is impossible. It's like trying to be at two places at the same time. So it's not like we can split our body and that body goes to the beach when it is hot. And which is disrespectful, right? And disrespectful is when we forget to say basic words like please and thank you. And then just before we end off our lesson, let us do at least two answers from the test. Why might you feel disconnected from friends? Why do you think you might feel disconnected from friends? Is it because you haven't heard from them in a while, or because you've been spending a lot of time with them? So we might feel disconnected from friends because we haven't heard or seen them in a while. What is an uncivilized person unlikely to do? To say excuse me or to drink water. So basically to say excuse me. And what is non-living? It's not living, right? So basically a mineral is a non-living thing. All right, so that is the end of our lesson on prefixes and suffixes. And remember, prefixes are it's a word that you add at the beginning of a sentence, right? And to determine the meaning of a specific word, you need to basically know what the meaning of the word means. And then a suffix is added at the end of a base word, right? And it basically suffixes can also, it's like we say, it's at the end of a base word, and it also kind of changes the meaning of a specific word. So, grade 5, that's now the end of our lesson on prefixes and suffixes. I really hope that you're going to have an amazing day further. Goodbye.